This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on. No choice. We're going to mandate get it on. Welcome to the best 15 minutes or so in the universe. It's Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with Mark Garrigus in studio, everybody.
Yeah, and a tribute to Gary for texting me and saying, where are you coming from today? And I thought, I just finished court. The appearance didn't go that long. Why not come and see you? I miss you.
So much to discuss. I know there's an LA Times article you want to talk about.
I know. I almost feel like it's beating a baby seal with the Times because it's like a day does not go by that they don't distinguish themselves as really ridiculous. Don't you think?
I do, and I wonder, and I always I kind of wonder where the business model is of any business that sort of goes, oh, here's my constituency. Like I'm going to cater to these people. Now, you know, if you sell falafels, you could cater to, let's say, an Armo crowd, but all you would do is make it as authentic as humanly possible for the Armo crowd and then hopefully attract more of the blue-eyed devils in to enjoy your falafel.
We like to call them Odars.
Odars. You get as many Odars in as well. But I feel like the Los Angeles Times just and also they're a news outlet. They're not a restaurant. They do news. So
I know, except they've kind of I think they are losing so much money, and their news operation has become so kind of scorned, if you will. It really is people I talk to, it's unbelievable.
Well, here's what you don't want to happen if you're a news organization. If somebody says this candidate this, or Donald Trump that, or COVID this or that, and then you go, oh, come on, who said that? And I went, I read it in the Times. And you go, oh, give me a break.
Exactly.
That's bad. That's bad if
really
you're a news
bad.
organization.
Right.
I mean, imagine if you're like ESPN and you go, oh, the Lakers beat the Celtics 113 to 109 last night. And I go, oh, horse shit, give me a break. Well, that's not a good sign for your organization.
And I don't understand. I guess it pays off for the good doctor who owns, because this way he gets to kill stories about himself,
right?
Which is why he bought the organization in the first place. But it's really become astonishing. Gary, do you have the one that just – and mind you, I'm a guy who you would think politically that they would speak to. That they write the old school, grew up in L.A. I'm in downtown L.A., unlike them who fled to El Segundo. And I'm trying to keep things afloat. I'm trying to do business in L.A. And I'm a Democrat because it's, you know, that's kind of their, ironically, because they started off with the Chandler family as being the opposite of the political spectrum. But then I saw this thing the other day. Gary, do you have it up? I want Adam to see this because it's just astonishing me. They do endorsements, your pet peeve, but fine, you endorse.
Pet peeve in that umpires shouldn't endorse a team before the season starts. Just call balls and strikes.
So, look, we got it up. Do you want to read it? And
I will. Nearly 24 people are also running for the Senate seat, but none have a fraction of Padilla's experience. The most prominent is Mark Mosier, a constitutional lawyer who has received the state Republican Party endorsement. Mosier, who unsuccessfully challenged Padilla for California Secretary of State in 2018, has positions that are out of line with the values of most Californians. Just one example, Mosier has been a loud critic of mask mandates and other sensible COVID-19 pandemic health measures, and says he has been involved in 22 lawsuits challenging Newsom's pandemic emergency authority. Well, first off, they just did a whole study, Los Angeles Times, and masks don't work.
Right.
So why is that out of line with what unless most people in California, as I suspect, are fully fucking retarded, because that you could get no other populace to go along with a retarded piper.
You notice we have left the realm of science and data.
Right.
And we've entered the realm of California values.
Right.
We have values, not that that Mosier's out of step with the science or the data. Mosier's out of step with the California values and is challenging, besides the mask mandate, those 22 lawsuits. I think I joined him in 2 or 3, and this is not a guy that I knew prior to the pandemic. And he's on the opposite end of the political spectrum. But he, like I said, how do you have a governor, by the way, we're still under an emergency order for over 2 years? How is that an emergency and not in perpetuity? And that is something you're condemning?
Well, if you looked up, and Gary can, and I'm also curious, Gary, are there any other states under emergency orders at this point? Possibly New York. But if you really think about the definition of an emergency, you know what I mean? Like, emergency is turn the rollers on, get the ambulance in the fire truck, speed to your destination.
Well, what are you going to do? I'm going to call 911. 2 years later, they'll show up?
Or you've been watching the same fire truck with the lights on circle your block for 2 years.
Right.
Emergencies, by definition, are short, thankfully.
Right.
Could be an apartment building fire. Could be a commercial airliner.
Urgency.
There's urgency. And it's real finite.
Yeah.
It's super finite because
which
it's an
is
emergency.
what makes it an emergency. By the way, I don't think there's anywhere that when you look at perpetual, does perpetual imply to you an endless state of emergency?
The words never ending and perpetual fly in the face of the definition of emergency.
Adam, I was surprised. I'll put up the picture for you here. Every state you see here in green still has an emergency order in place.
Really?
Yeah.
Texas?
Updated as of May 1.
Oh, didn't we check on this and Texas was dropping theirs?
Well,
but that they reconstituted?
So Texas is, if you hover over these, you can see a little bit more, but Texas's will expire May 22nd, 2022.
Ours does not expire. We got no expiration.
Ours expires, according to this at least, unless renewed, it expires June 30th, 2022. Yeah, but unless renewed,
exactly. This is the milk that never spoils.
Nevada's is that Nevada that's next? I'm always surprised at what happened in Nevada. Texas, I'm surprised at.
Nevada until further notice.
Wow.
No date.
It's weird that they became that. Either way, yes.
So this is what I mean. So you pick up that paper and you read it, and you say, and pick up the paper. I use metaphorically because nobody picks up the paper anymore. I mean, but you read that and you say to yourself, it's really like, how stupid do they think their constituency is?
Well, I think you hit it on the head when you said, instead of following science, it goes against
California values.
Well, value, by the way, it's a really slippery slope when we start talking about a state's values. States should be about taxes and tariffs and roads and schools. When you get into this amorphous values thing where we value, that's what Gavin Newsom was always talking about, how much he values our multiculturalism stuff. Now we're into weird invisible land, and we don't need that. Your job is to regulate. Your job is safety. Your job is tax collection or trash pickup, fire departments. Like, these are the jobs. And the values, well, it is true. Many people in California are fucking nuts. They all went all in on this shit. But I tell you, I flew into LAX on Sunday, and there are very few masks on that flight.
Oh, and people are done.
They're done. They're done.
Totally done.
And then I read a big, long article about how they've now got some science and masks don't work. So who cares what the values are, LA Times? We need science.
And by the way, in a fond yesteryear, journalism was supposed to be about challenging authority.
Yes.
And you weren't supposed to be a cheerleader for authority. You were supposed to challenge authority. And what is more authoritarian, as deriving from authority, than an emergency mandate which suspends the writ of habeas corpus, which we haven't done since the Civil War, the rights of people to pursue life, liberty, and happiness.
It became a very sort of upside down world for me, and I don't know, Gary. You can maybe look it up. I know you're doing a lot of free balling today, but you remember the ladies from The View, and there was that other lady who was like owned a small salon. Probably in Texas.
Yeah, it was in Texas because Ted Cruz went and got his haircut there.
And and she decided she did all the nonsense, all the crazy gypsy bullshit of, took the chairs and spread them out, hung the lucite, by the way. Do you have to be a virologist to understand that hanging a sheet of plastic? By the way, that when I've gone to any teller museum or something, you end up moving the plastic and talking around it.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Crazy gypsy, whatever. But so here's this woman, and she's a small business owner, and the lockdowns have crushed her, and she's defying the lockdowns by saying, I've complied with all of the mandates. I'm going to keep my business open. And if people don't feel safe here, they don't have to come here, but I'm keeping my business open. And the ladies from The View dress her down. And I thought, you ladies should be on the side of the small business owner who is trying to keep her business afloat instead of dressing her down from your guaranteed Zoom job from Manhattan. And then I was like, in days of yore, they would have been a champion, like you talked about, of the little guy who was defying the government to try to keep food on the table. Now, those people have become the enemy. And we're going to take, and they don't have a bully pulpit like you do. You guys have cameras and lighting and a vast audience of unemployable yentas, but still numbers. And so you're going to dress them. You're going to dress this woman down. I think we have a version of it. Let's see if we can.
Still working on downloading it here.
We'll play a little of it, but that's the interesting part. When did the champion for the small business and the little guy and sticking it to the man? I'm a broken record, but I've been saying for 2 years on COVID, Donald Trump is not the man. Gavin Newsom is the man. And comedians, you should start sticking it to the man. That's Gavin Newsom. We've got Who's the Man all fucked up.
Well, I'll tell you, the script flipped a little bit this week also, didn't it, Gary? With Gavin and Nancy Pelosi taking pot shots at each other?
I didn't even
see that. Did you see this?
Yeah, there was she was on an ABC News show, and they played her a clip that may have misrepresented Gavin Newsom's thoughts a little bit, and then she made some comments.
She unloaded, chirping at him, and boy, I'll tell you, you can tell when, and I hate to say I was early money on this, but the what was happening to my party, and we've been talking about this, coming this November is going to be a shit show. And I don't care. We can talk about Roe v. Wade. We can talk about Alito and everything else. By the way, for those who are complaining about the protesting out front of Alito's house, remember that when the Founding Fathers started, I believe his name was Hutchison. Gary can find it. The guy who was in charge in Massachusetts. They not only kind of broke into his house, they stole his booze on top of it.
What?
Yeah.
You don't steal him.
You steal a man's booze. Well, that is, talk about, I mean, if there had been 1942 back then, that would have been a capital offense. Sorry, Gary.
We'll play the clip.
Good morning, Shelley, and welcome. Megan?
Thank you, Whoopi. Good morning.
Hello, Shelley. Thank you so much for coming on. Texas had been under stay-at-home orders since March 22nd, but on April 24th, you defied those orders and reopened your salon for business. We heard a snippet of your story in that clip that we just played, but can you please explain to everyone watching why you decided to reopen your salon?
Well, there were several reasons. I mean, obviously, we were all in a panic when this broke out and the virus was spreading, and of course, we were willing to shut down 2 weeks, even 3 weeks. But when the government help was not coming, and no one was really even replying to any SBA loans that we were applying for, unemployment in Texas, you couldn't get through. The website was crashing. My hairstylists were telling me, look, I'm about to go to people's houses to do hair because I just don't have any money. I decided to open because it's not safe for them, obviously, to be going to people's houses for them or their clients. And I just felt like if I opened, I could create a sterile environment and make it at least a lot safer and follow CDC guidelines and regulations. And I really just didn't want to be the reason why they weren't making money.
Here comes Whoopi with some point
and they say you could have avoided jail time if you had apologized to the judge. Do you think there's anybody that you should apologize to outside of the judge, like, the folks that are working so hard on the front line, folks like that? Do they, is it something you would have done for them as opposed to just saying to part of the government that wouldn't open up?
First off, I have no idea what she just said.
That's a good question, Whoopi. Of course, I'm appreciative and have friends that are.
All right, I forgot.
The real heroes.
Yeah, she needed to apologize.
Yeah,
This is not a world you want to live in. If you just apologize to the judge, you won't do time.
It goes back to, that's a first cousin of the argument that we were just talking about, the California values. You've got to adopt the values.
Right. And apologize.
Yeah,
His values or her values are to shut you down.
You've transgressed. And by the way, the irony of Meghan McCain there, who's now in a very public fight. Have you seen with Steve Schmidt, who was her dad's campaign manager? Wow. They have been unloading on one another for the big show this week. I'll bring some of it. It is unbelievable.
It's been fun.
What?
It's been fun to watch.
Hasn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It's a shit show. Unloading. He is unloading on her, saying, "I got the receipts. I had to go to therapy. You've ruined my children's name." It's wild.
Wow.
Wild.
I've not heard anything about that. All right. Well, we look forward to that. We'll get into that, and we'll also see what Pelosi had to say about Newsom as well. Come to the end of our 17 minutes here.
I hate it. It goes too fast.
I know. May 20th, Huntington Beach, Sea Legs doing live pod there. That's coming up. And then also heading to Denver. I think I'm going to bring Sonny with me June 24th and 25th. So we'll be at the Comedy Works South there. And you just go to amcroll.com for all the live shows.
Where are you June 10th?
Let's see. Nowhere.
Okay. I'm going to say, who do I talk to about getting you booked in San Jose on June 10th?
Mike August?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think Big Boy's going to have some room on the,
Hey, you know what? I'm free that day. As it turns out.
What do you got,
do the
Mark?
show live from San Jose if I get August.
Yeah.
August never, the thing I've learned about Mike? He's the perfect guest on a flight. Mm-hmm. He never turns you down. He always will accommodate you and fly with you.
And oftentimes brings jerky and mixed nuts.
Yeah, but no caviar. Who brought you the caviar?
Oh, that was me.
That was a fan who sent that in here, and Adam packed it up right quick before any of the staff members went near it.
I love it. Anyway, for anybody who wants, let us know whether June 10th in San Jose makes sense.
All right. Any plugs besides San Jose, June 10th?
Get over to Gigi's at the V Palm Springs, or if you're in New York, stop by Naya or the Capri Hotel, which opened next weekend.
So, till next time, Adam Crow from Mark Garriga saying, mahalo.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.